Welcome back. This is another exciting episode of Mr. Takeda Teaches Algebra. I'm your host, Mr. Takeda, and I'm going to teach you some algebra right now. This is lesson 3.4 on the standard form of linear equations, in which we ask the essential question, how can you describe the graph of the equation ax plus by equals c? Standard form of the linear equation is that basically that. It's ax, a times x, plus b times y equals c. Now, a and b are real numbers, and c is a real number, and a and b cannot both be 0, because, of course, that would turn this side 0 if we did that, because 0 times x would be 0. 0 times y would be 0. So we can't have both of them be 0. Okay, so get this into your notes, and let's explore a little bit more. Horizontal and vertical lines. So the way I think of this is a coordinate plane is two number lines that intersect. The x, this is a number line, the x-axis is a number line, the y-axis is a number line. If I was dealing with a single, let's say a single vertical number line, and this is point 0 here, and this is point B, and we said graph for us y equals b. Well, that would be a single point because we're only dealing in a single variable, single dimension. But on a coordinate plane, since we're dealing with 2 dimensions, now we have to give this some length, right? So I kind of think of this as a point being stretched out in both directions. Another way you can think of this is, because this is where you're going to get confused. You're going to see the single variable, and you're going to get confused. How does it graph? If it's y equals, it's going to go through the y-axis. If it's x equals, it goes through the through the x-axis. Okay, it goes through the x-axis. So let me make that a little bit neater here. It goes through the x-axis. So x equals, it's a vertical line going through the x-axis. Y equals, it's a horizontal line going through the y-axis. Okay, and it's going to go through that point that either the y value or the x value. Okay, let's move on. Graph. So this is an example. Graph y equals 4 and b equals -2. Okay, so I'm going to find y equals 4. It's right here. Y equals 4. But remember, since I'm dealing with a 2-dimensional coordinate plane here, I need to graph all the points where y equals 4. So this is actually what point? 0, 4. Let's take a look at some other examples here. Over here, -6, 4. And over here, 7, 4. And there's going to be an infinite number of points that pass through the value that y equals 4. So what do we get here? We get a horizontal line that passes through the y-axis at 4. X equals -2. Let's look at the second example. X equals -2. Well, that's right here. And again, all these points right here are going to go through x equals -2, 6 -2, 5 -2, -3 -2. So when we graph this one, this is going to be a single. This is going to be a vertical line that goes through the x-axis, at -2. Okay. I don't know how else I've said it enough right now. Hopefully you'll remember that when it comes to tests, because when you come across these problems, they're really easy. You just have to remember which one is which, right? So hopefully you come up with a system that helps you remember which one is which. It goes through that axis. Okay, let's move on. Core concept, using intercepts to graph equations. So this is the first type of graphing of these linear equations that we're going to do, and this method is called using intercepts. Okay, there's different methods. I'm going to refer to graphing using intercepts a lot. And this works really easily when the equation is in standard form. The x-intercept of the graph is the x-coordinate of the point where the graph crosses the x-axis. Okay, so here's the x-axis. The graph goes through this point here. Same for the y-intercept. Here's the y-axis. The y-intercept is the point where the graph goes through that. And the easiest way one of the easiest ways to graph is to find those 2 points and just draw that line through there. Okay, so here's the key to what we want to do. We want to find the intercepts. How do we do that? To find the x-intercept, let y equal 0. Okay, so here's the x-intercept, y equals 0, and solve for a. Y equals 0, solve for a. To find the y-intercept, let x equal 0, and solve for y. So let's take a look at that. What that means. Okay, you're going to make sure you get this into your notes because this is an important idea here, that the intercepts are the values. The x-intercept is the value for x when y equals 0, and the y-intercept is the value for y when x equals 0. Okay, so that's a real important idea. So make sure you get that in your notes. I didn't write it down, but you should write it down. Okay, so let's look at this. Consider what happens when a equals 0, b equals 0, because that's what we're going to do here. The equation becomes b times y equals c, or y equals c divided by b. So because cb is a constant, so remember, you can write y equals b, right? Y is that y value from your ordered pair. Similarly, if b equals 0, that's the multiplier for y, the equation becomes a times x equals c, or x is just c divided by a. All right? And then you can write x equals a. This is the value. So we're going to look at what this means here. We're going to just practice it here. Okay, so use intercepts to graph the equation 3x plus 4y equals 12. Okay, so I'm going to kind of note this as I go. I'm going to say this is calculating x-intercept. Okay, so we said that the value of the x-intercept is the value of x when y equals 0. So it's basically this, 3 times x plus 4 times 0 equals 12. Okay, so 4 times 0 equals 0, so 3x plus 0 equals 12. So 3x equals 12. And then x will equal 4. Okay, so that's our x-intercept. And really, as a point, it's what? It's 4, 0, because y equals 0. We set y equal to 0. And then to calculate the y-intercept, the y-intercept is the value of y when x equals 0. So we set x equal to 0. 3 times 0 plus 4 times y equals 12. Okay, so 3 times 0 is 0. So 4y will equal 12. So y equals 3. And again, as a point, that's 0, 3. Okay, so this goes back to now the previous slide. I'll just flash back real quick. These things, right, basically say that 12 divided by 4, I'm sorry, 12 divided by 4 down here is 3, and 12 divided by 3 over here is 4. So C divided by A is this. Okay, so let's go ahead and graph these points. 4, 0 would be here. 0, 3 is here. Those are my 2 intercepts. And then I'm going to graph a line between them to connect them. And that's it. 2 points. I've got that graphed. Okay. And again, remember x-intercepts and y-intercepts. Make sure those things are in your notes. And that's it. There is a word problem I want to talk about, and I want to, because what the word problem is really kind of focusing on what is the meaning of these in a context. What's the meaning of these x and y intercepts? So we'll talk about those when we get to class next time. Okay, so there's a little puzzle for you. That's it for now. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. I'll talk to you in class next time. Have a great rest of your day.